Hello, good evening, and welcome back. The Myth of the Moderate Muslim and Taqiyya. Kia Walker, sacked over Facebook post saying there were no decent, honest Muslims, wins unfair dismissal case but gets no payout. So, no decent, honest Muslims. Let's just address that straight away before we get into the meat of the story. So, what is a Muslim? Well, of course, seeing as the Quran means subservience to Allah and Muhammad, of course, let us not forget that Islam believes subservience to Muhammad, a prophet, instead of just their God. That is one of the key differences between Islam and Christianity, that there is subservience to a prophet instead of their incarnation of their God. Okay, cool. And on top of that, let us understand what Muslims believe by going through the Quran. What is one of those things? Well, Muhammad taught, of course, that all the time that you are in the minority and you cannot enact your will through force, then you will pretend to be subservient and agree with what the people in power have to say. In particular, he, of course, did this with the pagans. So, okay, right, okay. So all the time you're not in power, you pretend that it is okay. And there is, of course, a name for that. And that name is Taqiyya. So all the time that you cannot enact what you wish to in order for Muhammad or Allah or whichever way you wish to go about these things, then you cannot force your way through. Understandable, of course. If you're in the minority and you may actually be oppressed, then people are not going to give a shit what you have to say because you're in the oppressed minority. Evidently, that is human psychology, and therefore you keep things quiet and you pretend to toe the line until your numbers are adequate or sufficient in order to then be able to dominate your captors. That is what Muhammad taught when it came to the pagans, and of course that would then be what a Muslim, if they are a true Muslim, would believe, because that is Muhammad's teachings. Given that Taqiyya means lying to further serve Islam, does that mean they are honest? No, it clearly doesn't. So if a Muslim is somebody who believes and adheres to the teachings of the Quran, then that means by definition they cannot be honest, because they are instructed to not be honest. Decent, well, that's just a moot point. So is that statement true? Is it factually accurate? Yes, without a doubt. If you consult the Quran and believe that a Muslim is somebody who adheres to all the teachings of the Quran religiously. So what's the problem then? Well, protected group, of course. So Linda Henderson was sacked after Ashgill care home bosses discovered posts, and her defense was weak as fuck, which we'll get onto. Other posts on Facebook account said there were no decent, honest Muslims. She won case for unfair dismissal after employers refused to consider evidence. What was the evidence? Oh, well, I shit you not, instead of her defense saying, okay, cool, let us cite the Quran, the particular surahs and verses, and explain why I say this, because that is precisely what Muhammad taught. No. Instead of being honest about Islam, she instead said, yeah, that was written by my son. Yeah, I wrote some stuff that went against immigration, about saying that it should be by our people and our own, and being paid a decent wage. But the stuff about Muslims, well, no, that was written by my son. At the time, the manager just didn't believe the claims, but, and therefore she was fired, of course. But latterly, she won her case for unfair dismissal at an employment tribunal after the care home refused to consider a letter from her son claiming he posted the comments. Yep, he got in on it too. Employment Judge Robert King said Miss Henderson's culpable and blameworthy conduct in breaching the respondent's social media policy was the sole cause of her dismissal. Therefore, he added it was just and equitable to reduce her reward by 100%. The tribunal heard that Ms. Henderson began working at the care home in November 2015 as an activities coordinator. So, he's saying that, yeah, she's responsible, but she didn't do it, which, to me, that the secondary point is moot if the primary point holds true. It's like, yeah, you're still held accountable. Do you really want to have somebody there who cannot control their own social media account? No, I don't. In which case, you're held responsible for it. If somebody else posts with your avatar, then it's still on you. And yet, the judge kindly decided to go with, yeah, sure, it was your son. Let us review the evidence and let's go with yeah. But you're still not entitled to a payout. So essentially, private company wins. Except, how much are care homes private companies? But the point is this. The care home social media policy wanted nothing that was divisive. And therefore, of course, it wasn't anything that was set in stone. It wasn't as if you could go with, okay, cool, these words I'm allowed to use, and these words I am not. If I have plausible deniability, then I'm allowed to write this, otherwise I am not. That doesn't matter, because it's a civil case, not a criminal case. And that means that the care home will decide, okay, well, this is acceptable at this time, whereas this other thing is not, in which case that is how we are going to draw our lines. That is subject to change in the future. We do not have to update our policies, because our policies are dependent on what is acceptable. And therefore, posting something that is currently socially unacceptable, even though it would have been at other times in history, and therefore aligned with their social media policies, is a moot point. So, put simply, if you want to defend yourself against such things, then understand what your employer requires and abide by those rules. Because if you try and take it to court, they're going to say, well, okay, what was the agreement? What was the contract? You signed that, you agreed to it, in which case, why did you not follow it? Well, that's on you. If you disobey a direct order that you've already agreed to follow, there's nothing the court can do. Which is fair enough. In which case, perhaps, bring these things up a little bit earlier. Perhaps find somewhere better to work. And if you can't find anywhere better to work, then work for yourself. Try and get something off the ground. And keep it going. Even if it doesn't seem like it's worthwhile. Even if, after 2 years, you've still only got 228 subscribers. You know, keep at it. Every single day without missing a day. Because who knows what's going to happen. But on that sordid note, let me know what you guys think down below. And two things. One is, if you agree to something, do you really have any legal standing? And the other is, if you keep doing something the same way for 2 years and it isn't fucking catching on, is there any point in continuing? I'm very intrigued to hear what you guys have to say on this one. And I might even reply. But hey, that's it for me. So until next time, as always, have a good one.